Welcome to Mondays with Maxwell. My name is Mark Cole. I'm the president and CEO of the John Maxwell Leadership Enterprise. I believe every one of you watching this right now is just like John. You welcome Mondays because you look forward to starting your week off looking for ways to value people. And since today is Monday, my friends, let's hear from the man of the hour. He is our leader, our friend, John C. Maxwell.
Welcome to Monday with Maxwell. Hi, I'm John Maxwell, and I'm delighted that you're with us. And we're continuing our series now for about 4 months on best advice. I love asking people when I'm having dinner with them, what's the best advice that you ever received? Almost, not every time, but almost every time, when I ask somebody to share with me best advice, somewhere in that conversation, I get a real nugget, a gold nugget of truth that just I can apply to my life. And that's what I want every day on Mondays with Maxwell. When you come and be with me, I want you to say, I know this. John's going to talk about best advice, and he's going to say something that's going to be best for me. Now, as you know, Andrew, our studio friend, always has best advice. You just go to Andrew and trust me, he's got something to say, and more often than not, it's humorous. And so I said, Andrew, what's your best advice for our people today on this Monday? And he said, well, John, it's very simple. The secret to a long life is quite simple. Wake up every day. And that's it. I know what you're thinking. When he told me that, I got all excited. Wake up every day. And that's it. And I thought, oh, Andrew, no one like you can let us down so quickly. I mean, I just thought, oh my gosh, wake up every day. And he's going to say something amazing. No, he's just telling you what the secret of a long life is. Just wake up every day. That's it. That's the secret of a long life. The other day I was reading about what I would call the stages, the different steps that we take in our maturity, in our advice maturation. And this is very true. It kind of works like this. And here's how it starts. For most of us, we don't seek advice. And then we go from we don't seek advice to, well, we don't want advice. And then we go to that third step. Well, we don't object to advice. And then we do listen to advice. And then we welcome advice. And then we actively seek advice, and then we do follow the advice that is given to us until, wow, the final maturation is that we give others credit for their advice. I can still remember a relationship I had with a friend, and over the period of about 4 years, he called me a few times and asked for my advice, and I gave it to him. And we were at the ballpark one day. It was a baseball game. It's kind of slow and boring, and so there's a lot of conversation at baseball games. And he said, John, he said, over the last 3.5 years, I called you 8 times for advice, and you gave me all the time good advice. And he said, I just want you to know, I never took any of it. I didn't follow through on anything. And then he said to me, and he said, John, as I look back, I should have taken your advice on every one of them. And I thought, wow, I don't know if there was a lot of maturity in the advice area or not. But the advice I'm going to give you today, in fact, this one is going to be so important that honestly, we're going to go to 2 lessons. There'll be one today, and I'll give you next Monday another one. But the advice that I want to share with you today is just surround yourself with great people. And this came to kind of a head to me a few weeks ago up in Atlanta. The John Maxwell Company sponsors a Pro-Am tournament before the Mitsubishi Senior Open. And it's just a real joy to do this. And we get to play golf with some of the senior tour players, and it's really wonderful. And we had a dinner that night. And at that dinner table were some pretty amazing people that have come into my life. And I just sat at the end of the table, and I became very grateful as I would look at each one of their faces, and I would think of the ways that they have helped me, the ways that they have made me better, the ways that they have made our organizations better. In fact, right to my left was a very good friend, and he said to me, as I don't know, maybe he could read my thoughts as I was looking around the table, But he said, this room was filled with a lot of good people. And I said, you're right. It's filled with some great people. Now, the reason that I mentioned that is because that evening, I was very aware, I was very grateful, because I was very aware that the people sitting around that table had made me better than I actually am. And in fact, in the John Maxwell enterprise, all of our companies, we're just drawing some powerfully wonderful people. And I was telling Mark Cole, our CEO, the other day, we are literally in a harvest time of outstanding individuals that are saying they want to be part of our team. You know, in my notes, I wrote their names. I mean, some of these names you'll know, some of these names you won't know, but like Joel Mamby and Jeff Henderson, Valerie Burton, Don Yeager, Chris Hodges, Casey Crawford, Becky Bursell, Tim Elmore. Oh my gosh. These are huge people. And they're all wanting to be part of our team. I'm not even sure that we deserve them, but I'm grateful. And that's why I want to talk to you about how did this happen? How have we been able to surround ourselves with great people? It really begins back in 1973. I'm just a young kid leader. I'm in Waterloo, Iowa, because Charles Tremendous Jones is going to be one of the speakers, and I had read his book, Life is Tremendous. He was very successful in the insurance business, and he was such a positive thinker and doer, and he was so filled with enthusiasm. And his book was such a help to me. And when I heard that he was going to be in, of all places, Waterloo, Iowa, I went from Ohio and made the journey to sit there for a couple of days and hear him speak. And I'm so glad I did, because that's where I met him. We became lifelong friends. But here's what Charles Tremendous Jones said that day. He said, you will be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books that you read. In other words, he said, the only difference you're going to have 5 years from now than the life you have right now is if you get around good people and you read good books. And I can remember that day. I'm just a kid. Gosh, I'm 26. And I'm saying that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to become intentional with the people that I meet and surround myself with, and I'm going to be very intentional in the books that I read. And so I have become intentional in that. And what I want to do, I'm very excited about this lesson, not only this Monday, but next Monday. This is part one. It'll be a part two. I'm going to share with you now, I'm going to share with you just now, how do you surround yourself with great people? Statement number one. Have a great desire to become great. If you want to surround yourself with great people, it begins with desire. I know, again, as a kid in my 20s, I knew one thing. I wanted to make a difference. I didn't know how I was going to make a difference. I didn't know when I was going to make a difference, but I knew I wanted to make a difference. I had this desire, this deep desire. Napoleon Hill, you know what he said? He said, the starting point of all achievement is desire. Back then, I was a pastor of a country church. Now, just stop here for a moment. Don't see me as I am today. See me as a young kid in a country church with about 100 people. It doesn't look like there's much future here. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to achieve what I've achieved. But I had a great desire, and I read a book on America's largest churches, and there were 10 of them that were featured in this book, the top 10 growing dynamic congregations. And I called each one of those pastors of those 10 churches and asked for an appointment with them, of which 2 said yes and 8 said no. In fact, I was so desperate for an appointment, I told them I would give them $100. If you'll just meet with me, I'll give you $100 for 30 minutes. And that was a lot of money. I only made $4,800 that year. But I just had a passion to meet them. It was that desire. And I did meet with them, by the way. And I can promise you right now, it was life-changing for me. I asked them questions. I only had 30 minutes. I had a tape recorder going, and I just took notes as fast as I could. Now, only 2 of the 10 said they would see me. And by the way, If you're trying to go somewhere and be something and do something, and you only get a 20% return on your ask, don't despise the 20%. Seize it. Go to the 2. You see, interestingly enough, after I saw those 2, within the next 3 years, I saw all 10. Because those 2, after they saw my passion, my desire, they called their colleagues and said, you need to see this kid. Just trust me. He may be in a small country church today, but there's nothing small or country about him. And they opened the doors for the other 8. So many times we don't go forward because we don't have the ideal situations, and we've got to quit doing that. In fact, just this week I wrote this down. In fact, I was talking to my assistant, Linda Eggers, and I made a statement, and I stopped. I said, I got to write this down now. And I'm giving it to you by memory, and I've only said it a couple of times, so I hope I do it right here. But I was talking to Linda about vision, and I said, we need to act on the vision that we have so that we can obtain the vision we need. And the moment I said that, I thought, this is so true. I've got to act on the vision I have. And the vision that I have, it's not complete. It's not full. It's not even totally seen or understood. But you got to act on what you have so that you can get the vision that is yours, that is going to be bigger and better in the future. And that's what I did. I had this desire. This desire kept me in the game. So when you want to surround yourself with great people, it begins with have a great desire. The second thing I would share with you is to go to where the great people are. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Great people flock together. So you got to find out where they are. And when you find out where they are, you got to go hang. And you say, well, you know, they won't know me. Of course they won't know me. I can still remember. I can still remember when I was a young pastor and my church was growing, but I had an invitation not to be a participant, but to attend an event called Exchange in Orlando, Florida, where the big boys were going to be participating. And I went there. And I went there because I wanted to get around great people. I wanted to see them. I wanted to maybe have a chance to even meet them. Maybe get a picture with them. I don't know, but I just knew that if I could put myself in an environment where great people are, wow, I could perhaps become even greater. Again, in my 20s, I wrote about a great environment and how can I create a great environment for growth for my life? Because I wasn't in an organization that had a culture of growth, and I wasn't part of a team that had done great things. And so I wrote about what I thought a growth environment would look like and how I needed to create it for myself. I was looking at this the other day. I have it in my notes to share with you, but there are 10 things that you want to create for yourself to put yourself in a great growth environment. I want to give them to you quickly because I got a point I want to illustrate. Number 1, others are ahead of you. Number 2, you're continually challenged. 3, your focus is forward. 4, the atmosphere is affirming. 5, you're often out of your comfort zone. 6, you wake up excited. 7, failure is not your enemy. 8, others are growing. Number 9, people desire change. 10, growth is modeled and expected. Now, those are the 10 things that you want to create to have a growth environment. And I was looking at those the other day in light of surround yourself with great people, and it hit me. 5 of the 10 of these ideal situations to create a growth environment, 5 of the 10, half of them, are specifically about great people. Number 1, others are ahead of you. Number 4, the atmosphere is affirming. Number 8, others are growing. Number 9, people desire change. Number 10, growth is modeled and expected. And all of a sudden it hit me that surrounding yourself with great people, if you really want to do that, you got to go to where the great people are. They're not going to come to you in the beginning. You have to go to them. So, if you really want to surround yourself with great people, have a desire to be great, that is the passion that you'll need. Go to where great people are. And number 3, do what great people do. I like this. In other words, if you want to surround yourself with great people, get the habits of great people. Again, birds of a feather flock together. In 1989, Stephen Covey wrote that classic book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Now, those 7 habits, this became the incredible, life-changing influence book for that decade. And the reason it was so good is because Stephen Covey was so practical, and he gave us 7 habits that if we would practice those habits, he basically said, you'll be great. And if you're great, guess what? You'll surround yourself with great people. Habits such as, number 1, be proactive. In other words, take action. Successful people take action. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Beginning with the end in mind is all about intentionality. Know why you started in the first place. Number 3, first things first. That's about priorities. Number 4, think win-win. That's all about relationships. Number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. That's all about listening. Number 6 is all about synergy, teamwork. And number 7 is about sharpening the saw, having personal growth in your life. Sharpen your saw, have improvement in your life. Now go back to the $100 for a moment. I would ask them when I gave them that $100, what are you doing to build a great church? And after I would ask them that question and take those notes with my tape recorder, I would reflect. And I'd say, now, how did they do that? And then I'd say, okay, now, here's how they did it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take action on it. I was at a conference and some wonderful young kid came up to me, and I had been speaking all day to a couple thousand people. It was a wonderful day, full of energy, full of life, practice, people clapping, laughing, cheering, taking notes. The kid comes up to me and he said, boy, John, he said, I would like to do what you do. And I smiled and I said, of course you were. I said, that's not the question. The question is, would you like to do what I did so you can do what I do? You see, it's the did that's the problem. We want the do without the did. We want to somehow have success without paying a price. We want to have success without it taking time or us having to be committed or be consistent for a period of years. We love the, I want to do what you're doing, but we don't like the, I'd like to do what you did. And if we don't do the did, we don't get the do. That's a fact. In fact, if you don't do the did, you're in deep doo-doo, okay? That's just a fact. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about if you really want to surround yourself with great people, you got to do what the great people do. You see, these great people, they had these habits that Stephen Covey talked about. They did them. And here's what I discover in kind of wrapping this up. When people hit what I call the success plateau, which is very, very common, why do they all of a sudden, I mean, they've done really well, all of a sudden they just kind of go flatline? What happens? I can tell you. You and I, we hit the success plateau when we stop doing what we did. It's just that simple. When I stop doing the things that made me successful, I will no longer be successful. So the best advice, this is part 1, because next Monday I'm going to do part 2. The best advice is to surround yourself with great people. And to surround yourself with great people, I shared with you 3 things. Have a great desire to become great. That's the passion. That's the energizer. Go to where great people are. And thirdly, do what great people do. So let me take just a couple of minutes now and talk to you about an organization that I'm extremely proud of, the John Maxwell Team, our coaching company. And the reason I want to talk to you about it is because I would like you to become a John Maxwell certified coach. I need you, and to be honest with you, you need us. This lesson on best advice on surrounding yourself with great people is all about the John Maxwell Team. When I talk to our team members, and because they come twice a year, the new ones come in, and their first intro to the John Maxwell Team is a 3-day conference in Orlando, where they meet other John Maxwell Team members, most of them brand new also, and they sit at tables of 10. And for 3 days, they're going to sit at tables of 10. They're going to meet these people. They're going to become friends, lifelong friends many times. And when I talk to them and I say, tell me about the John Maxwell Team, and tell me, when did you realize that it was going to make a difference in your life? And what's interesting, so many of them, I would say a majority of them say it was at the conference in Orlando. And I'd say, well, tell me about it. They said, well, I sat at a table with 9 other people that wanted to make a difference in their life. And we became friends. And for 3 days, we were taking notes together. We were discussing together. We were having lunches together. And all of a sudden, they said, I realized I was surrounded with people just like me. Now, here's the question. Would you like to be surrounded with people who want to serve, want to make a difference, want to be a successful entrepreneur, want to perhaps even start a career as an entrepreneur, and maybe be your own boss and have your own team and make good money making a difference, helping people? Now, if that's kind of your life, and maybe you're in it, maybe you're not in it, but I got a feeling there are many of you, you're saying, boy, that sounds like something I'd like to be a part of. I'd like to be around that table with 9 other people that really had a passion to add value to others. If that's you, I want you to go to mondayswithmaxwell.com. And the reason for that is there's someone waiting to help you understand the John Maxwell Team better, and perhaps help you find the place that you have always been looking for. Here's what I know. You're going to find somebody when you go to mondayswithmaxwell.com that cares for you and cares about your future and is very competent to answer your questions. The least you can do is to go mondayswithmaxwell.com right now and ask some questions and let our people talk to you, because there is a possibility that you will be one of those people that would like to be in a room surrounded by other great people. If that sounds good to you, go to mondayswithmaxwell.com right now. And thanks for joining me today on Mondays with Maxwell.
I hope you've enjoyed today's Monday with Maxwell lessons. What's some good advice or some unadvice you've received? Let us know in the comments. Thank you again for watching today. We'll see you next week for another episode of Mondays with Maxwell.